Dave Palumbo with another installment of RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2018, brought to you by Redcon One. Today's topic, predictions, once again, Classic Physique Division. You know what, of all the predictions I'm doing for this year's Olympia, this division is the most complicated. I have to admit it, because you know what, these guys are so close to each other. And once again, when size doesn't become an issue, it becomes harder and harder to try to delineate who's better. You know, once again, proportionally, these guys are all the same size. The rules of the Classic Physique Division is, for a given height, you can only weigh a certain amount. And it's proportionate, so the taller you are, the higher you can weigh, the shorter you are, the less you can weigh. And so no one's really bigger than the other guy, they're just taller. And so this makes it much more difficult because the guys are closer. So let's start with, Breon Ansley, who's our defending Classic Physique, champion. He's also the defending Arnold Classic champion, and that counts for something. It counts because he's the reigning guy. He's the guy the judges are looking for. He's got the momentum. He's won both major shows now in one calendar year, and he's coming back as a defending champion. Much harder to defeat a defending champion than a guy who's challenging to win. So that tells me that if Breon Ansley brings it, he's going to be hard to displace from that first place, I guess you could say, pedestal that he's on. Why? Once again, because he's got momentum and people are looking for him to mess up, essentially. And if he doesn't mess up, he's the standard. I don't think there's anyone out there that's that much better than Breon Ansley that they're going to just knock him down off that Olympia throne. It's not going to happen. And I have never seen Breon Ansley out of shape, which is very, 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 very worrisome for the rest of the guys up there. Because if Breon comes in, like he always does, with perfect conditioning, we know his presentation is incredible. He's got the classic look. He's got peak. Look, one of the things that I used to say for men's physique, you have to have a good haircut. I changed for Classic Physique, you got to have good biceps, and Breon's got the best in the business. And I told him that on the interview the other day. He was very happy that I told him that. But it's the truth. He's got great biceps. There's no one who has got better peaks than he does. And that counts for a lot. You see that front double bicep, that rear double bicep pose, man. It's hard to knock this guy off. And he brings conditioning that's incredible. And if you know what? If he was in posing trunks, he'd still win because the guy's got stride at everything. So to me, I'm going with Breon Ansley for the win. And I'm saying this with a bit of hesitation because I really like Chris Bumstead. If you guys have followed our coverage last year, I had Chris Bumstead beating Breon. And Breon was a little insulted by that, but it was nothing personal because Breon looked great. I just love Bumstead's look. He's taller. He's got more width to him. He's got more wow, I think, to his physique because of his height and his structure. And to me, that won it for him last year. But obviously the judges, upon closer analysis, looked at the fact that Breon's got better biceps. Once again, there's your bicep tie-in. And also, I think Breon's back is a little better. So if Chris has brought his back up and his arms up a little this time around, he's going to push Breon, but I think it's going to be very hard for him to beat him because he didn't beat him last year. And I can't see Bumstead being that much better than Breon is at this point. And Breon made improvements. So I think Bumstead's going to have to settle for second again, even if he's at his best. The only way that Breon loses is if he's off. And like I said, I've never seen Breon ever do a show where he was out of shape. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we're going to see a repeat of last year's 1-2 Breon Bumstead again. Once again, if Bumstead comes in off, then one of the other guys that are right behind, nipping at his heels, is going to take him out. Once again, this is a truly stacked lineup. It's very hard to make these predictions, but I think those two guys are solidly in the driver's seats in that first and second position unless they do something to screw it up. Now, what are we looking at third and fourth place? Third and fourth was my most difficult decision to make because when you look on paper, if you look at George Peterson, okay, George Peterson has got no weaknesses. He's one of the most peeled guys in the lineup. His back is maybe the best back in the lineup. He's got a small waist. Alone, he's the champion. Alone, he's an Olympia champion multiple times. But he's short. And when he stands in that lineup against these guys, he sometimes gets a little lost. And that's why I cannot go with we're giving him a third place like he had last year. I believe that, and I could be wrong once again because who knows who's going to be in shape and who's not. I'm going with Henry Pierre-Arnault, who won the Tampa Pro this year. Here's a guy who's placed third in open shows. He has Classic written all over him. His physique should have been Classic from the minute it was created. I think that with his height and his wow factor and his width, he's going to be very difficult to beat. He might even challenge the top two, who knows? But I think he's a solid third here. I think he's a third because, like I said, I think he's got the height and more wow than George Peterson does when you compare them. Once again, you put separately, George Peterson on paper should win, but when you put him next to it, there's a visual aspect that George doesn't bring in that lineup that I believe that Henry Pierre does bring. And so I'm going to go Henry Pierre, third, George Peterson fourth, and then of course we get to Regan Grimes. What do you do at Regan Grimes? This was a guy who placed second in the open, category last year, sucked out. I don't know how he made weight, won the New York Pro. I don't know how he did it. He lost like over 20 pounds, this guy, to make weight. Here's a guy who, by all accounts, once again, could do open or classic. He seems to enjoy this division. It works for him. He has a classic physique. He's got no weaknesses, really. His only weakness is that maybe he's too big and that he has to suck down. And when he gets on stage, I don't think he's at his best. I think he's bringing in an abbreviated version of his best because of the fact that he has to bring his weight down so low. So maybe next year he won't be able to make the division anymore. He might have to move up. But this year I have him solidly in fifth. I think he's a fifth place guy because I think he's going to have trouble beating those other guys who have no trouble making the weight. And we're going to get a great Regan Grimes, but we're not going to get the best Regan Grimes. And I think that's why he's going to have to take fifth here. Now, the sixth position is up for grabs. I don't know who to put into that sixth position. How do you not have Arash Rahbar in the top six? Here's a guy who was, second the first year. He was fourth last year. He was second at the Arnold Classic. He's always got great conditioning. He's got a great physique. He's got a lot of muscle on his body. He's one of the most well-liked guys in the classic physique division. He's very popular. He stands out on stage because he's tall. I almost want to say fifth here if Regan's off a little bit, but I'm going to give him a solid six. Now that's with a proviso. That's a proviso meaning that he's at his best. Because if he's not at his best, I got other guys nipping on his heels. I got Steve Lorius, who's won the Pittsburgh show, who's got one of the best shapes in the division. I don't think he's consistent though. So I would never put my money on him. I don't believe that he can bring consistency. I haven't seen it yet. Once we see it, remember, he's the guy who won Pittsburgh the week after he did New York Pro in the 212 division, and he was in terrible condition. So I can't go with him only because his consistency is not good. I also like Stanimal, Stan DeLongu. He's been getting better and better and better. I know our good friend Samir Banut, Mr. Olympia, is working with Stan on his posing, and I think that he's going to bring the best look of his career. He could certainly push Arash out of that sixth position and grab it. However, I'm giving Arash the benefit of the doubt because he's been there before. He's got the experience on stage, whereas Stan doesn't. Another wild card for me in the lineup could be Khalid Chikawi, who I just recently learned how to pronounce his name correctly, so he'll be happy to hear that. And he's from Canada, and he's also a super wild card. This guy is very, very dangerous, and you have to watch out for him. If any of these other guys are off, he will slip right in there. Same thing with Danny Yunin, who I know George Farrell works with. Danny is also another super, super dangerous guy. If anyone's off, this guy slips right in there, and he'll be in that top five all day long. So the classic physique division, most exciting of the weekend because of the fact that there's a lot of wild cards here and we don't really know how it's going to fall. But my predictions are going to be Breon Ansley first, Chris Bumstead second, Henry Pierre third, George Peterson fourth, Arash Rahbar. Oh, we got Regan Grimes. I think we switched this up. I had Regan Grimes fifth and Arash Rahbar in the sixth position. And who knows? Let's see how it works out. If I'm right, I'm a hero. This is, once again, the hardest one to predict. So if I am right, I'll be pretty proud. I'll pat myself on the back. Pat right now. But anyway, guys, I hope you're enjoying all the coverage. When we get out to the Olympia in Las Vegas, it's going to be up. We're going to up the ante even more. So stay tuned to all the coverage all weekend long on RXMuscle.com. I'm Dave Palumbo with another RX Muscle Iron Road to the Olympia 2018. We'll see you next time.